Welcome back, everybody, and hope you all are having a wonderful Tuesday out there. Thank you for checking out this edition of Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod. Of course, I'm your host, Benjamin Kennedy. Before we dive in, just another big thank you to Court Lalonde from Bruins Diehards podcast. Came on with me last time, had an awesome chat. As I said before, if you haven't checked out his work on his YouTube channel, go check him out as well. Does a great job. All sorts of things to talk about today, all sorts of interesting topics. As I made my drive back from Presque Maine, back here to Cumberland yesterday, I get out of my car and just hockey news over here, hockey news over there, hockey news every place. So I want to dive into some of this. And some of these stories that we're going to talk about today are still kind of pending. We're still waiting for some official news, some official announcements, but all sorts of fun local things we can talk about today, starting in Lewiston, Maine. Lewiston, Maine, the Colisee. Of course, the ice hockey arena up there under new ownership. It's now owned by a company, Milltown Sports and Entertainment. I believe they're out of Massachusetts. And not long after that, an announcement comes down that another juniors team is moving into the city. The Maniacs are going to be called, I think, the Lewiston Maniacs, going to be part of the National Collegiate Developmental Conference, which according to what I've read here, Tier 2 Junior Hockey League, 32-team league. Presque Isle, Maine, is also represented in this league as well. If you want to learn more about this, there's a really nice article by Andrew Rice from the Sun Journal, so you can go check that out. But yeah, kind of like we knew the new ownership was coming to the arena, and then all of a sudden, wait a minute, another junior hockey team coming to Lewiston. I didn't see it coming. Maybe other people did. I'm not as close to that part of the hockey world as many others are. Um, but yikes, man! Like, where does that leave the Maine Nordiques right now? Where does that leave them? I know there's going to probably be some news or some announcement coming from the team at some point, but can they coexist at the Colisee? Can both teams call that home? Will the schedules work for that? It'd probably be a logistical nightmare to try to make that happen. But I guess weirder things have happened. I guess if the Celtics and Bruins can do it, probably two junior clubs could do it, perhaps. I don't know. Do they have to look in Augusta? Do they have to look in Bangor? I mean, there are other cities where the Nordiques could go and stay in state. I hope they don't move out of town. They've been a follow and a fun watch. It's such a great year last year. It'd be pretty sad if the Nordiques had to move out of state. But yeah, I'm just speculating. Don't know what their plan is. But yeah, a little bit of a surprise to see another juniors team coming back, coming here into the state, and the return of the name Maniacs. And I saw some reactions to this yesterday. Some people fairly emotional about this. Some people saying, no, 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 we should just leave that alone. Keep that to where it was when the Maniacs were part of the queue. Other people excited about the name coming back. We'll see how it all works out, but obviously, it's more hockey is good, I think, here in the state. So having another juniors team, I think, is wonderful news. It just is a little bit like, yikes, what does that mean for the Nordiques? Because we know there's just not enough ice, and arenas in the state already as it is. But yeah, something to keep our eyes on, and we'll be very, very interested to see where the Nordiques end up. Hopefully, they're able to stay in Lewiston. Hopefully, they're able to stay at least in the area someplace. And as I just said, I'm not super close to this side of the world of hockey, but you have the the NAHL, all these acronyms that the Nordiques are part of. And then you have the NCDC, which the Maniacs going to be part of. Which league is better? Which brand of hockey is higher up the list? I believe, from what I've read, they both look like they're listed as Tier 2 junior leagues, but I've already seen some comments saying that the NAHL is higher up, or they're the same. I don't know if anybody has any ideas or any comments on that. Please feel free to leave those comments down below. End of the day, I think it's great though that we've got two teams, and hopefully again both stay in the area. And of course, we got the team up in Presque Isle too, so that's all sorts of fun, but will be a story worth following. Turning now to the Maine Mariners, of course, I believe it was just yesterday, some qualifying offers coming down throughout the ECHL. That was the deadline, I believe, was yesterday for the whole league. So Mariners putting 6 on qualifying offers. Liam Gorman He played, of course, he's the new guy that just came in from the Allen Americans, played in 62 games last season, 6 goals, 11 assists for 17 points. Lyndon McCallum, of course, guy we picked up last year, excellent trade by the team between his time in Idaho and the Mariners, 72 games, 24 goals, 23 assists for 47 points. He should be an absolute stud for the Mariners this season. And Christian Sarlo going to be returning as well, 55 games, 14 goals, 17 assists, 31 points. Of course, started the season a little bit banged up last year, came on late. You could start to see him really get the puck, move and get his legs moving there as the season went on. So really curious to see how he can build off of that good energy there at the end of the season. Three defensemen as well. Corey Dennis on one of those offers, 37 games for him between Orlando and the Mariners, had the 7 assists. James Maroney, 50 games between Adirondack and Maine, had 5 points, 1 goal, 4 assists. And Michael Underwood, uh, good young defenseman here, 67 games, had 5 assists as well. Of course, these qualifying offers do not necessitate that they have a signed deal yet, but it does give Maine some protection. I believe that unless their rights are traded, they can't sign any place else but Maine. So 99.8% chance you see all 6 of these guys at least start the season here with the Maine Mariners. Some moves out of Providence as well. And these are curious. I don't cover the Providence Bruins on this channel, but I do want to talk about these moves as they could absolutely affect how the Mariners build their roster and how the season goes for them. But Ty Shoveldayoff being signed by the Providence Bruins. He was, of course, had signed here with Maine last year, got into a couple of games the season before, and did play down in Jacksonville in the ECHL last season. 66 games for him, 6 goals, 13 assists for 19 points. So he was one of those kids that was like, that would have been really nice to see him here in Maine. So maybe we get to see him finally. Eric Middendorf coming over as well. 67 games in South Carolina for the Stingrays. A very good team last season. 21 goals, 33 assists for 54 points. So a guy that knows how to put the puck in the net, good offensive player. I was just part of that juggernaut team that South Carolina had a year ago. So he'll be starting in Providence. And then old friend Zach Massacott. Congrats to Massacott getting the AHL contract. Of course, 64 games for the Mariners a season ago. 2 goals, 11 assists for 13 points. And before this, of course, we all know that Brooklyn Kalmakoff got that AHL contract as well. 66 games for him with the Mariners last season, 22 goals, 34 assists, 56 points. Certainly one of the team leaders from a year ago. So congrats to him as well. Well deserved. But man, when you look at what the Boston Bruins did on July 1 and how their roster looks right now, a bunch of, hate to say it, a lot of third, fourth line guys. Providence is loaded. Providence is just absolutely loaded with some NHL veterans and a bunch of different players there. You add these 3 guys to the mix. I don't know how Maine doesn't benefit from this. I truly think that you're going to see, where we didn't see a lot of help last season from Providence, I think you're actually going to see more help, not just because of the way the roster is constructed from above in Boston going down to Providence, but I also think the relationships between Providence and Boston, our Providence and Maine and Boston and Maine you're going to see improvements there. Something I know owner Dexter Payne has been very adamant about, building that relationship back up. But yeah, I think there's a really good chance that a guy like a Shoveldayoff, a Mittendorf could end up at least sometime here in Maine. Kalmakoff, I mean, I want to see the guy be successful. I want to see him do really well in the A, but you'll probably see him in Maine. I mean, it's so early to tell. We don't know how all this stuff is going to move around. We all know that ECHL stands for Ever Changing Hockey League, so we know these rosters are going to have a lot of movement throughout the season. Not a bad thing, though, that Providence is well loaded and really deep, and that has to benefit Maine, doesn't it? Doesn't it have to benefit us this year? I think it should. I think it should. And I think you Mariner fans should be pretty excited about what this roster should look like. Of course, we know Vidmar and DeVoe already re-upped and re-signed, so a big part of the leadership team there. So a lot of exciting things. Another player of note is that the Boston Bruins did sign former Trois Rivières goaltender Luke Cavallin. I always get that one mixed up. Cavallin, awesome goaltender here, guys. Of course, we saw him plenty last season. He had a 2.13 goals against and a 929 save percentage, and was actually way better than that in the playoffs on his way to a Kelly Cup. So he does sign a two-way contract. So it is a Boston Providence contract, 790,000 if he plays for the big club, 70,000 for the minors. We know that DiPietro has the Bruins contract now too. We know that Brandon Bussey is gone out of the organization, signed with Florida. So no doubt that Luke is going to have an opportunity there in Providence. You hope he plays well. Obviously, we don't want to see him play so bad that he gets sent to Maine, but he would look great in a Mariner uniform. He really, really would. I He's one I'd probably say we may not see him here in Maine, but I guess you just never know. You never really know how it's going to work out. The goalie carousel is big here in the ECHL, and I think it's going to look a lot different perhaps for Maine this coming season. All reports that Bischel has retired after his one season. Nolan Meyer, quite honestly, I've kind of lost sight of where he is in the organization, if he's still unsigned or what's happening with him, because he had the AHL contract. I'm going to have to look that up after this video because I actually didn't prepare myself to talk about him. But and of course, Brad Arbonitis. We all hope that Brad is back. Fan favorite, and really played so well down the stretch and was such a team guy throughout the season. You had the two AHL goalies in front of him. He had to sit. He sat, I want to say, for over a month without getting into a game. And from all reports, he was just the best teammate, encouraging the guys, working hard in practice. So many good things about this guy. So seeing him have that success towards the end of the year was awesome. Certainly hope he can come back this coming year and hopefully play more. So we will see. Moving on to another announcement from the Maine Mariners, and this is one more that we'll talk about. Don't worry, guys. But the Mariners announcing their theme night schedule here. So you can go online, check that out. Keeley has a great article on that. One of note is a Pirates night, a Portland Pirates night. That's going to be Saturday, December 13th. So something that Dexter Payne had talked about on the channel is trying to buy the rights to the Portland Pirates, logo and naming rights. And so I'm assuming this must mean that work and that legal business got done and that Dexter must own those rights now. So that's awesome to see. That will be a lot of fun. Again, that's a jersey, a sweater I wouldn't mind going out and grabbing. Should be a lot of fun. So the big kind of breaking news from yesterday, and we're still waiting for confirmation on this, but head coach and general manager Terrance Wallin, rumors swirling that he is on his way to Lehigh Valley of the AHL. Of course, the Philadelphia Flyers, American League affiliate, of course, Danny Briere's Philadelphia Flyers. From Twitter X yesterday, Jackie Spiegel, according to #Flyer source, John Stone will be named head coach for Lehigh Valley. Terrance Wallin will be added to the staff as an assistant coach. Of course, Chris Roy, locally here, shared it out on his social media yesterday. That's where I first saw it. So, yeah, we're just kind of now to wait and see. I've checked with a couple of my sources. Not that I'm super well connected, but a couple little connections in there, and nobody's given up the bag quite yet. I do think we're probably just waiting for Philadelphia to make the announcement official before Maine or Lehigh Valley will make any announcements. So we'll see what happens here. We'll see what happens. Of course, we know Wallin is not just the coach; he is the GM. We're in the roster building mode right now, so a tough time. It's never a good time to lose someone that that important. I will say this though, if this is true and Wallin is heading off to the American League, first of all, congrats to Coach. I think it is well deserved. Hardworking guy, didn't give up last season. All the different moves he made to keep the team floating, and again, we were only 7 points out of the playoff spot by the end of the year. But he would be leaving, if this is true, after 4 seasons behind the bench, 3 of them as the head coach, 216 games coached, 107, 94, and 15 record, 2 playoff appearances. Of course, no series wins. But yeah, I think overall successful run for him here. You want to see more playoff success. It is what it is. So yeah, we'll see if this is legit. Again, congrats to Coach. We will wait to see If Philadelphia or the Lehigh Valley Phantoms will make an announcement, maybe today, maybe while I'm recording, maybe tomorrow. I'm not really sure, um, but we'll see. We will see. So if this is the case, and if Wallin is moving on, who's next? Who's the next guy up? Who's the next head coach? And more importantly, will this head coach also be the general manager, or are we now actually looking for two new hires here? So that'll be something to watch for. Couple names right off the bat here that stand out for me is Zach Tolkinen, the assistant coach. Of course, he came in last season, first time assistant with the Maine Mariners. Of course, he was the first captain of the Mariners back, I believe it was at the 2018 season. So he's certainly going to be a candidate. But I actually look a little bit deeper. I look at Brad Staubitz, director of hockey development. Of course, he came in a year ago as well from the from the OHL. I'm sorry. But of course, former NHLer has 230 games played in the NHL between San Jose, Minnesota, Montreal, and Anaheim. Like I say, coaching experience there in the OHL with the Sarnia Sting. I think he was there for a couple of years, 2, 3 years. So when he came in a year ago, it did have that feel, that sense that, okay, this guy could be potential head coach down the road. And maybe they're bringing him into the organization thinking that there's some potential there. Few practices I went to, super energetic guy. You can definitely feel his energy on the ice with the players. I think he'd be a heck of a fit. No doubt that probably both of these men will be considered for that role. Maybe the team looks outside the organization. There has been a lot of coaching movement this year in the ECHL. And once again, that big question is, are you going to bring someone in that can do both jobs of GM and head coach, or are we looking for two different people? I cannot wait to find out what happens here. Of course, any news breaks on this, I'll be back here to talk about it. Okay, moving on. Some NHL news and notes here over the last few days. Of course, it is summertime, the sun's out, everybody's on the lake or at the beach, but there is news to discuss. The NHL and the Players Association did ratify their CBA agreement. So good work, NHL. Good work, PA. This is awesome. Labor peace. Labor peace. I think through 2030 or 2031, something like that. So this new CBA is going to kick in next season, so the 26-27 season. I haven't read through the whole document yet, but some of the big pieces coming out of here is they will move to an 84 game schedule. So they'll be taking off a couple of the preseason games and move to an 84 game schedule. I'm on the fence about that. I think that 82 is such a good number. It still kind of feels like it can drag a little bit, but at 84 games with 32 teams, that means you will get to play everybody in your division 4 times. Right now, you play some 4, some 3, and they want to get everybody playing every team at least twice. So 84 does make that a little bit easier. And then, heaven forbid we add 2 more teams or something down the road to the NHL. So I'm not surprised this is happening. Of course, this is one more gate for each owner, so they don't mind that at all. And I do like the fact they're taking off those preseason games because some of those do seem a little bit wasteful where you're just not getting a whole lot out of them. So that's big point number one. Second point, commitment to the Olympics. And this is an absolute big one for NHLers, for the players. They love the Olympics. They love representing their country and not having it for the time that we were missing it. The players were very loud and very vocal about that. So this will get us through, I think, 2 runs of the Winter Olympics. So they're committing to both of those. So that's awesome. And contracts, structures of the contracts are going to change just slightly. Right now, if you are signing with your team, you can sign up to an 8-year contract. You hit the market, it's a 7-year contract. That's going to move from 8 to 7 to 7 and 6. So, players may not like that. I think it's probably better for the owners there, gives them a little more, less risk out there long term. 8 does seem like a long time in the NHL because you can sign somebody to that 8-year contract and you're just praying that the last 3 years are not, complete disasters, right? So a lot of other things in there. Those are some of the big takeaways, but go check that out. I'm sure it's all over the internet now. You can go check it out. But just great to see this. Great to see this. There's so much good momentum and energy in the NHL right now, and you would hate to see a strike or a labor stoppage put anything, to damper that. So great to see they got this locked in. And of course, we are still waiting for CBA news for the ECHL. They just had their meetings end of June. I haven't seen any updates on that. And we do still have some bleeding happening with players leaving for Europe already, not waiting around to see what that new CBA looks like. So I'll be curious to get some feedback there. Last time I checked in with Michael Keeley on that, there was nothing new to report. So hopefully more to come. Hopefully more to come. We did have a trade yesterday in the NHL. Isaac Howard, a former first round pick of the Tampa Bay Lightning, being traded to the Edmonton Oilers for Sam O'Reilly, another former first rounder. Of course, Howard was picked in the first round back in 2022. O'Reilly, first round selection in 2024. So both kids getting traded for one another, both signing pretty much immediately after with their new clubs. Kind of an odd one. We don't know the whole story, but Howard didn't want to play in Tampa. Didn't want to sign in Tampa. Made it very clear he didn't want to sign there. Didn't want to play there. Don't know where that relationship broke down. You would think, a young player looking at Tampa Bay. I mean, look, you got John Cooper running the organization, one of the best coaches in the league, a very successful franchise, very well run franchise. Tampa Bay weather, like tax-free state. We can admit that one gets a little overblown, but hey, tax-free state, all sorts of great things. I don't know why you wouldn't want to play in Tampa, but to each their own. So he moves on to Edmonton. It is unique. He's a U.S. kid wanting to go play for a Canadian team. You usually see it. You don't usually see that, that trend. So curious there. But yeah, I mean, both late first round selections for their clubs both have, I think, a lot of potential, but plenty of risk here too. When we're talking about prospects, you never know where it's going to land. But I think for Tampa, this is good. You knew he wasn't going to sign. You got some real good value for him coming back. I think it works out great for both clubs. Some UFAs, some unrestricted free agents still left on the market. Of course, we're now 9 days into free agency. Still looking at Robbie Fabry out there. Luke Cunnin, former Bruin Matt Grzelcyk is out there. Track Roslovic is still out there. That's a unique one. Jeff Skinner, Jan Ruda, just to name a few of the names still out there on the market. The Roslovic one really does surprise me. This kid's 28 years old, coming off just a one-year contract. I think it was a $2.8 million cap hit with Carolina last year, but 81 games played, 22 goals. 17 assists, 39-point player. Actually, good player, good kind of middle six kind of player. The type of goal scorer that every team needs. Of course, we know Carolina just picked up Ehlers, so maybe there's no room left for Roslovic there. Maybe he's just taking his time. But I had both him and Cunnin on my list of potential Bruin targets. I don't think you're going to see that in Boston, though, as much as I would love to see Roslovic there. It's the exact type of player the Bruins need. Are they talking to him? Did they try to talk to him? Did Jack say, nope, not going to Boston? I don't know how that all went down. And that is a comment I just want to make here about, why not Boston? And, hearing this from a lot of fans right now, something that Gort, Lalonde, and I talked about a little bit is that, why couldn't Sweeney go out and get other players or make trades for other players? But I mean, I don't know if players want to come here right now. I just don't. This may not be the same type of destination it always was back in the day. Where the team's not close to a cup. They're in a rebuild. Okay, it's not a retool. This is a rebuild, not a complete rebuild, but more, I think, closer to a rebuild than a retool, in my opinion. And we're not close to a Stanley Cup right now. So if you've got options like a Roslovic or some of these, or like a Ehlers or a Besser, you're not coming to Boston. And I love the point that Court made last week as well, where if you're Elias Lindholm, if you're Zadorov, and this is your free agent year, they're probably not coming here either after the year that the Bruins just had. They're going to go find other places to play where they're closer to the Stanley Cup. So I do think the Bruins need to re-earn that a little bit. It's not good enough that they're just an original six. Yeah, great history, great place to play, wonderful city, best fans in the sport. of course, I'm a huge Bruins fan, so I'm definitely biased. Okay, of course I am, but it is a wonderful place to play. But there's a lot of wonderful places to play in the NHL today. Places where you can maybe have a little less, a little less attention on you, and be a lot closer to the cup. So I do think that's, something that the Bruins need to re-earn a little bit. Now, Marco Sturm's going to have an opportunity, to build and to kind of remake a more attractive culture. We'll see how this year goes and how that building goes for him. And this next year could go a long way in how free agents view Boston and view the Bruins under Marco Sturm. Is he a good coach to work with? Do players like working with him? Do players like being coached by him? What is that team culture like? 'Cause this is all new, man. This is the first year in I'd have to do some math. Math isn't my forte, but the last year we haven't had a Marchand or a Patrice Bergeron on this team. I want to say we got to go back to what the 2004, 2005, something like that. It's been a couple of decades. So Page is definitely turning. Time to build a new culture. It's on Marco Sturm. It's on this group, Don Sweeney and Cam Neely as well, to rebuild this culture and make it a more attractive place for players to want to come. So yeah, would I love a Jack Roslovic to come and be part of this group? Absolutely, I would. If I'm Jack, am I really going to consider Boston? Yeah, probably not. Probably not, as much as I hate to say that. Couple other things here. Still no Bo Byram deal. Of course, Byram up there in Buffalo wants out. Good young player here. They did pick up his arb rights a few days back, so trying to protect themselves as your Buffalo from any sort of RFA, anybody putting claims on him. So I guess they're going to try to work out a deal. But I think they're still very open to trying to find the right fit to trade him. And Buffalo just has no leverage. They have no leverage, man. Everybody knows Byram doesn't want to be there. Everybody knows it. So if they want to deal him, it's going to be probably pennies on the dollar. Again, another player I wouldn't mind seeing the Bruins try to get, but if you really work that deal in division, I'm not sure if Buffalo has much interest in that. But we'll see where that goes. And we are hearing reports. This is from the fourth period's Dave Pagnotta that Seattle is actually open to trading Jared McCann. Another big fish here. McCann, 22 goals, 39 assists for 61 points a year ago, has 2 more years left, paying him $5 million per season. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Of course, now with Ehlers done and signed, you're going to see some more NHL trades happen. You could see, again, do we see a McCann? Do we see a Byram? Do we see Raquel or Rust at a Pittsburgh move around? We are going to see how that all works out. So, everybody, that's what we have for you today. Of course, we're waiting on news. We're waiting on news about the Maine Nordiques. We're waiting on Terrance Wallin confirmation here, what's happening there. And we'll see if some of these other trades don't happen around the NHL. So, thank you so much for watching and listening to today. If you do like what you're hearing, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below. Absolutely appreciate it. And until next time, everybody, be kind, show love. Go Blue Jays, won 10 games in a row, and God bless.